Good evening. I'm Robert Floyd, your town moderator, and I believe we were wise not to meet last week during the snowstorm. So we postponed the town moderator special town meeting information session for tonight. And my plan will be to read all the articles. Any questions from the audience, we'll field them. We're not voting this evening. We're going to vote Tuesday. That's when the special town meeting is at the William Norris School, Pomeroy Meadow Drive at 7 o'clock, 7 to 10. It can go a second night. It can go a third night, but we do everything we can to have it finalized in one night. I will proceed. We have 37 articles. Article 1. The amended town bylaws, elections and annual town meeting. To see if the town will vote to change the town bylaws, Article 1, Section 1, by amending the existing language as noted below, with new language shown in boldface. I'll have to let you know what that is. Text, which reads as follows. The annual election of town officers shall be held on the first Monday of May of each year. The annual meeting of the town shall be held on the third Tuesday in May, commencing at 7 p.m. in the evening, and if not completed in a reasonable time period prescribed by the moderator, shall continue on successive evenings beginning at 7 p.m. until its conclusion, excluding Sundays and holidays. 2, in boldface, the annual election of town officers shall be held on the third Tuesday in May of each year. The annual meeting of the town shall be held on the first Tuesday in May, commencing at 7 p.m. in the evening, and if not completed in a reasonable time prescribed by the moderator, shall continue on successive evenings beginning at 7 p.m. until its conclusion, excluding Sundays and holidays, or take any other action there too. And that needs only a simple majority to pass. Article 2, Finance Committee recommend. I'm not going to read the recommendations. I'll do that, if necessary, Tuesday. Amend Town Bylaws, Article 17, Council on Aging Director. To see if the town will vote to amend the Town Bylaws, Article 17, Section 4, by replacing the current Section 4, which reads as follows. Section 4. The Council on Aging may appoint such clerks and other employees as it may require, with the following. Section 4. The COA director is hired by and ultimately responsible to the appointing authority, the Select Board. The Select Board has the power to hire, evaluate, and or terminate the director, and may delegate some or all of these functions to the town administrator. The director has the responsibility for the hiring and supervision of paid staff and unpaid volunteers. Section 6, the COA board serves as an advisory board, or take any other action thereto. Each article will, at the town meeting in the handout, have a summary, and also will have the motion that will be read by usually the Select Board members, except when it comes to the Community Preservation Committee articles, and that's read by Virginia Ahart. And that's, again, a simple majority. Article 3, amend Town Bylaws, Finance Committee. To see if the town will vote to amend the Town Bylaws, Article 2, by amending the existing language as noted below, with new language shown in boldface text and deleted language shown as stricken through. Section 1. There shall be a finance committee for the town consisting of 5 voters of the town who shall perform the duties set forth in the following sections of this article and be governed by the provisions thereof. The committee shall be elected as provided in Section 2 of this article, and in boldface. Finance committee members may serve as liaisons to other committees, boards, commissions, and or ad hoc committees as needed to maintain communications and coordination between those bodies and the Finance Committee. Finance Committee members may serve on appointed committees, commissions, boards, or ad hoc committees with voting rights unless otherwise stipulated in the town's bylaws. Section 3, the Finance Committee shall consider all articles and any warrant thereafter issued for any town meeting, annual or special, calling for the expenditures and or transfer of money, and report in writing or otherwise to the town meeting its recommendations as deemed in the best interest of the town. And that part that is crossed out is this: no appropriation and or transfer of money shall be made under the report of a committee or an individual until the matter has been considered and reported upon by the Finance Committee or take any action relative thereto. And that's a simple majority. Article 4, and I'm going to precede this by saying there's been a change. Article 4 was submitted to Copeland and Page, the town council, and the town council recommended not to go ahead with Article 4. They recommended a motion. I will read the original Article 4, and I will read the motion as submitted by Copeland and Page to the town yesterday, and quickly approved by the moderator to be accepted to make a motion at Tuesday's meeting. Town budget process. To see if the town will vote to amend the town bylaws to establish a process for creating the annual operating budget of the town by adding Article XL111 as follows. The 18. The Select Board determines budget priorities after, 30, XL, what, 30? I used to know my Roman numerals in parochial school. 40. Oh, that's right, L50, 40. 43. Thought I had this down, but I didn't. A, the Select Board determines budget priorities after consultation with the finance team, town administrator, finance committee members, town accountant, treasurer, and principal assessor. B, on or about December 1, the town administrator forwards to all departments and committees the Select Board's budget priorities, a set of guidelines for budget preparation, and schedule for all departments and committees to meet with the town administrator, finance committee, and the town accountant. C, on or about January 15, based on the Select Board's budget priorities and following the guidelines established by the town administrator, departments and committees compile their budget proposal, meet with the town administrator, finance committee, and the town accountant to discuss their proposal, and afterwards send their final proposal to the town administrator. D, on or about February 15, after consulting with department committees as appropriate, the town administrator sends a draft budget to the Select Board and the Finance Committee. E, on or about March 1st, the Select Board and Finance Committee meet to discuss the administrator's draft budget. F, the Select Board reviews the draft budget and after consultation with departments, committees, as appropriate, adopts or modifies the draft budget to create the Select Board budget. G, on or about March 15th, the Select Board sends their budget to the Finance Committee. H, on or about April 1, the Finance Committee sends Finance Committee's budget recommendations to the Select Board. I, on or about April 15, the Select Board and Finance Committee meet to discuss their respective positions, make revisions, and share their respective revised drafts. Should there be further changes to these drafts, the Select Board and Finance Committee must meet to discuss the changes. J, to provide voters with ample time to review all budget-related items prior to consideration at town meeting, to mandate early, timely budget deliberations, to reinforce collaboration and communication, and to discourage budget-related items being introduced at town meeting without ample opportunity for all stakeholders to consider the implications 1 week prior to the annual town meeting. The Select Board's final budget and Finance Committee's final budget recommendation for each line item of the Select Board's final budget shall be posted on the town's website and shall be available at Town Hall, or take any other action there too. The recommended motion under the four corners of the article I just read, town budget process. The purpose is to provide voters with ample time to review all budget-related items prior to consideration at town meeting, to mandate early, timely budget deliberations, to reinforce collaboration and communication, and to discourage budget-related items being introduced at town meeting without ample opportunity for all stakeholders to consider the implications. This bylaw sets forth a process for development of the annual budget presented to town meeting. 2, annual operating budget and select board budget priorities. The select board shall prepare the annual operating budget for submission to town meetings. Annually, the select board shall determine budget priorities for the upcoming fiscal year after consultation with the finance team, town administrator, finance committee members, town accountant, treasurer, and principal assessor, as the select board deems necessary and appropriate. 3, budget schedule. On or about December 1, the town administrator shall forward to all departments and committees a budget schedule, which schedule shall include timeframes and deadlines for actions necessary to prepare the annual budget, together with the select board's budget priorities and guidelines for budget preparation. This schedule shall include a date, no later than April 1, or at least 2 weeks after the select board budget is submitted to the finance committee as provided for in the budget schedule, whichever is later, for the finance committee to provide its budget recommendations to the select board. 4, availability of final budget and final budget recommendations. The select board's final budget and the finance committee's final budget recommendations for each line item of the select board's final budget shall, at least 1 week prior to the annual town meeting, be posted on the town's website and be made available at town hall. And that requires a simple majority. Before I go on to 5, I want to, as I read the articles, I don't read much these days in the winter except sit, come to my 2 dogs. No joke. Any person in town hall has the same right as anyone else. Every person is allowed up to the microphone. Say what you need to say, but make it a new point. For example, if there's a sign and we're going to paint the sign blue, we've already heard somebody wants to paint the sign blue. You want to paint it red? Then say you want to paint it red. But to repeat what somebody else said just to strengthen their argument, pro or con, doesn't work, and the moderator may ask you to come up with something new. Any motion that's on the floor can be amended. Then we talk about the amendment only. An amendment to a motion can be amended. Then we talk about the amendment to the amendment. We then vote on the amendment to the amendment. Then we talk about the amendment to the motion. We then vote on the amendment to the motion. Then we talk about the motion, amended or not, and then vote on that motion. Article 5. Vote pursuant to Mass General Laws 41, Section 110A. To see if the town will vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 110A, that any public office of the town may remain closed on any or all Saturdays, and where the last day for performance of any act in any such office falls on a Saturday when said office is closed, the act may be performed on the next succeeding business day, or take any other action relative thereto. A simple majority for that. And if anybody has any questions, just jump in. Sorry, we can't, we're not set up to take questions at home, but the concept of what we're doing right now is to inform those perhaps who don't have internet and can't download the PDF file of the articles, but to hear ourselves talk. And maybe we have some questions or maybe some revisions for the motions that will be made Tuesday. So it's teamwork. Article 6, street acceptance. To see if the town will vote to accept Woodmore Lane as a public way as shown on a plan, I imagine it will be available, entitled Woodmore Estates, prepared for the Southampton Planning Board and recorded in the Hampshire County Registry of Deeds, Plan Book 236, pages 76 to 79, or take any other action related thereto. Simple majority is needed for this to pass. Part 2. The articles are grouped together by theme. Article 7 is zone change on Middle Road, Sattler Store. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning of 155 Middle Road, Plan Book 79, page 82, Deed Book 7705, page 352, from residential village to commercial village, or take any other action relative thereto. And that is a 2/3 majority. And in a 2/3 majority, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And then I'll ask all those in favor signify by saying nay. If I don't hear a nay, it's 2/3. We don't need to. But if one person says nay, we simply do a count so we can inform the Attorney General that we indeed succeeded in meeting the 2/3 requirement and not doing it by ear. Some towns vote that it can be done by ear, but we have not done that. Article 8, zoning bylaw amendment, marijuana establishments. See if the town will vote to amend the Southampton zoning bylaw, Section 5, use regulations, by adding a new use to Table 1, use regulations, by adding the following new principal use under retail and service. And it has principal use, residential, commercial, industrial. 17 with a star. Marijuana establishments, all types of marijuana establishments consistent with and defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 94G, but not including registered medical marijuana treatment centers, or take any other action relative thereto. That requires a 2/3 majority to pass. Article 9, temporary moratorium on marijuana establishments. To see if the town will vote to amend the town zoning bylaws by adding a new section, oh, here I go again, 18, temporary moratorium on recreation marijuana establishments that would provide as follows, and further to amend the table of contents to add Section 18. Section 18, temporary moratorium on marijuana establishments. A, authority and purpose. By vote at the state election on November 8, 2016, the voters of the Commonwealth approved the law regulating the cultivation, distribution, possession, and use of marijuana for recreational purposes. This law was amended on December 30, 2016 by extending certain deadlines by 6 months, and the Cannabis Control Commission is required to issue regulations regarding implementations by March 15, 2018, and to begin accepting applications for licenses on April 1, 2018. Currently, under the zoning bylaw, marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers are not, it has A permitted, but I think A is redundant, is not permitted use, is not A, it's good, are not a permitted use in the town, and any regulations promulgated by the State Cannabis Control Commission are expected to provide guidance to the town in regulating marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers. Further, the ballot measure establishes 2 important provisions that require ballot action by the town prior to the adoption of zoning. First, the town must, by ballot, determine whether it will issue licenses for marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers. And second, by ballot, that cannot occur prior to November 6, 2018, the next biennial state election, or whether to allow on-site consumption of marijuana products should the town decide to allow licenses for such facilities. The regulation of marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers raise novel and complex legal, planning, and public safety issues, and the town needs time to study and consider the regulation of marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers and address such novel and complex issues. as well as to address the potential impact of the state regulations on local zoning, and to undertake a planning process to consider amending the zoning bylaw regarding regulation of marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers and other uses related to the regulation of marijuana. I've never said that word so many times in my life. The town intends to adopt a temporary moratorium on the use of land and structures in the town for marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers so as to allow the town sufficient time to engage in a planning process to address effects of such structures and uses in the town, and to adopt provisions of the zoning bylaw in a manner consistent with sound land use planning goals and objectives. B, definitions. For purpose of this moratorium, the definitions set forth in Mass General Laws, Chapter 94G, Section 1 shall apply. C, temporary moratorium. For the reasons set forth above and notwithstanding any other provision of the zoning bylaw to the contrary, the town hereby adopts a temporary moratorium on the use of land or structures for marijuana establishments and other uses related to recreational marijuana. Because of the statutory requirement to have the State Attorney General's office approve all zoning changes, approval at town meeting, and the time that it takes to prepare such submission, and for the Attorney General's office to conduct their review and respond, the moratorium shall take effect through December 31, 2018, or 120 days from the date of the town meeting action, whichever occurs later, or until such times as the town adopts zoning bylaws amendments that regulate marijuana establishments and obtain the Attorney General's office approval, whichever occurs earlier. During the moratorium period, the town shall undertake a planning process to address the potential impacts of marijuana in Southampton, consider the Cannabis Advisory Board regulations regarding marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers and related uses, determine whether the town shall restrict any or all licenses for such marijuana establishments and marijuana retailers, and consider such other and further matters as set forth in Mass General Laws, Chapter 94G, Section 3, and General Laws, Chapter 64N, Section 3, or take any action relative thereto, and that requires a 2/3 majority. Article 10 is under Part 3, Economic Development. Tax Increment Financing Agreement. To see if the town will vote pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 59, and General Laws, Chapter 23A, Sections E and 3F, 2A, approve a tax increment financing, TIF, agreement between J&E Precision Tool Company and the town of Southampton, substantially in the form as is on file with the town clerk, the TIF agreement, for property located at 115 Valley Road, map 39, lot 26A, and is described more fully in the TIF agreement, which TIF agreement provides for real estate tax exemptions as the exemption rate schedule set forth therein. B, authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute the TIF agreement and any documents relating thereto. And C, authorize the Board of Selectmen to approve submission of the TIF agreement and certified project application and any associated documents to the Massachusetts Economic Assistant Coordinating Council, all relating to the project as described in the TIF agreement, to be located in Southampton, EOA, and certified project application, and take such other and further action as may be necessary or appropriate to obtain EACC approval, implement these documents, and carry out the purpose of this article, or take any other action relative thereto. and this requires a simple majority. Part 4, financial items. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of water. Simple majority on the last one. Thank you. Part 4, financial items. Article 11, unpaid bills. This evening, the town will vote to transfer $2,365.10 to the prior year's bill account for unpaid bills from fiscal 2017 for HVAC services from BG Mechanical Company and Blanchard and Daly, and an Eversource bill from the fire department. Said sum to be taken from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. And any unpaid bills from a prior fiscal year requires 9/10 majority. Article 12, additional funding for town hall building expenses. This evening, the town will vote to transfer $13,000 to the town hall building expense account for the new service contract, and other expenses related to repair of the HVAC control system. Said sum to be taken from the town administrator salary account or take any other action relative thereto. And that requires a simple majority. Article 13, transfer from free cash to the capital stabilization fund. This evening, the town will vote to transfer $148,246.50 to the capital stabilization fund. Said sum to be taken from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority. Article 14, transfer of free cash to the OPEB fund. This evening, the town will vote to transfer $42,356.10 to the other post-employment benefits, OPEB, account. Said sum to be taken from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. And that requires a simple majority. Article 15, transfer from free cash to the operating stabilization fund. This evening, the town will vote to transfer $127,068.30 to the operating stabilization fund. Said sum to be taken from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority for that one. Article 16, funding for high-velocity vests and Kelvar helmets. I got the Kelvar right. To see if the town will vote to transfer $4,800 from free cash to the police department expense account for the purchase of 5 velocity vests and 5 Kelvar helmets for active shooter situations or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority. Happy birthday tomorrow. Article 17, funding for additional hours for the building commissioner. To see if the town will vote to transfer $6,800 from the town administrator salary account to the building commissioner salary account to compensate the commissioner for an additional 4 hours of work per week or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority. And again, if anybody has any questions while we're going through, raise your hand. We'll see if we can answer it. No debate, no voting, but perhaps we need more information. Let me know. Article 18, transfer from free cash to loan from the 2011 Halloween storm. To see if the town will vote to transfer $55,600.24 to the Halloween 1029-11 account to pay off the loan from the 2011 Halloween storm. Said sum to be taken from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority. Before I go on to Article 19, the town meetings are not run by Robert's Rules of Order or no rules of order. They are run by town meeting time, a parliamentary law handbook that can be quite convoluted. It has its origins in the 1600s. It works We've been doing it successfully. You may hear someone make a motion or a subsidiary motion and wonder where it came from. It comes from the book. If anybody at a meeting needs any help in verbalizing a motion or an amendment they wish to make, this moderator will walk you through it. The idea is not to take the meeting hostage, say what you need to say and not anything outside the scope of the article, or the moderator will call it outside the scope. But if someone is new to town meeting and needs help walking through, this is what we do. It's your meeting. Article 19, transfer of free cash to the legal budget. To save the town will vote to transfer $10,000 to the legal budget to fund extraordinary legal costs this fiscal year, said sum to be transferred from free cash or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority for that. Article 20, transfer from treasurer collector certification stipend. To save the town will vote to transfer $1,000 from free cash to the certification stipends account to fund the town approved stipend for attaining treasurer collector certification or take any other action relative thereto. And that one is a simple majority. Article 21, the transfer from ambulance receipts to the ambulance operating accounts. To save the town will vote to transfer $56,375 from ambulance receipts, reserved for appropriation to the EMS wage account, and to transfer $5,833.31 from ambulance receipts to the fire building expense account, or take any other action relative thereto. Simple majority for that one. Article 22, transfer from ambulance receipts to fire chief's salary account. To save the town will vote to transfer $6,346 from ambulance receipts, reserved for appropriation to the fire chief's salary account to cover negotiated salary for the fire chief's service as EMS director, or take any other action relative thereto. And that is a simple majority. Historically, we've had those who were meant to read the motions stop at a particular article, and the silence is deafening. Anyone in the room can read a motion if they wish. Sometimes the select board will make a motion to pass over for good reasons, but once a motion is on the floor, once it's made and seconded, the ball's in the court. It's up to you, the legislative body of the town of Southampton, to deal with it. Article 23, land purchased 215 College Highway. To save the town will vote to transfer $15,000 from the free cash fund to the select board expenses account for the purchase of land at 215 College Highway as described in a deed recorded with the Hampshire Registry of Deeds in Book 10432, page 49, or take any other action relative thereto. A simple majority. Article 24, video cameras for a police department cruiser. To save the town will vote to transfer $5,020 from free cash to the police department expense account to cover the costs of replacing a failing video dash camera system in a police cruiser, or take any other action relative thereto. That one also needs only a simple majority. Article 25, payment to the Collins Institute. To save the town will vote to transfer $1,400 to the select board expense account to pay the remaining balance to the Collins Institute for background checks and travel during the search for a new town administrator. Said sum to be taken from the town administrator salary account, or take any other action relative thereto. And that only requires a simple majority. Article 26, transfer $4,900 for a portable radar speed limit sign. To see if the town will vote to transfer $4,900 from free cash to the police department expense account for the purchase of a portable radar speed limit sign or take any other action relative thereto. And that requires only a simple majority. When any voter, any registered voter in town at a town meeting asks for information of the town, believing it needs to help with their decision, that person can make a motion to postpone the meeting to the next night. Everybody will vote on it, yay or nay, but that person and any person has the right to do that. We therefore encourage any town officials to bring as much information and as much data, and it would be a shame to have it postponed to another night because somebody left a file or folder on their desk. Community preservation funding. You want to read?
Yes.
Okay, Virginia A. Hart, who is the chair of the Community Preservation Committee in town. She is helping my voice right now, and she will also read the motions come Tuesday, but for tonight, we're only going to read the article up to the summary.
Article 27, transfer of Community Preservation Committee funds for our front door access to Town Hall. To see if the town will vote to transfer up to $10,000 for community preservation funds to the Town Hall door account to create access through the front doors of the Town Hall. Said sum to be transferred from community preservation surcharges historical preservation account or take any other action relative hereto.
And that requires a simple majority. And in Virginia, historically, when you were here, and certainly when you're on the floor, you give information, a synopsis of the various accounts.
Yes.
I would invite you to do that now, since we've got plenty of time.
Well, it's the doors that were here.
Well, not so much the doors, but all the different accounts, how much money is in each account.
Oh, I don't have that.
Or just a general, but come
I'll
Tuesday.
bring it.
Okay.
I did not bring it.
Okay, but go ahead with the information.
Okay, this is to...
Not why we need it, but what it is that's happening.
Yeah, it's here in Town Hall. The doors are the old ones that were on the building. They either are they're very far apart, they let cold air in. If they seal them up to keep the heat in, then it's not an exit or an entrance. And it's really more important for an exit in this case, in case anything happened in certain parts of the building.
Article 28.
28. New roof for the Zipka barn. To see if the town will vote to transfer up to $40,000 to the Conservation Commission to fund necessary preservation, including a new roof for the Zipka barn, and said sum to be taken from the community preservation surcharges, undesignated account, or take any other action relative thereto.
And Article 28 only needs a simple majority. And would you give us some more information on Article 28, please?
Well, the roof especially is, first of all, the Zipka barn is one of our older buildings, historic buildings in the town. It is not really able to be used now because it is in such poor condition. Belongs to the town. Conservation Commission is supposed to be taking care of it. And the roof especially, in high winds, pieces of the roof could easily come off and create a very dangerous situation. Furthermore, if the building is going to be preserved, and it certainly should, and that's something that community preservation is supposed to be always looking into, is historic buildings. It needs to be done.
Thank you. Thank you. Article 29.
Transfer of CPC funds for a study of the Old Town Hall. To see if the town will vote to transfer $30,000 to the Select Board to prepare a feasibility study for a preliminary design for the restoration of the Old Town Hall. Said sum to be taken from community preservation surcharges undesignated, or take any other action relative thereto.
Okay, and that's simple majority also, and would you give us more information?
Well, the Old Town Hall is in need of repair. We also need to know what needs to be done to preserve it, and as I said before, it's one of our jobs is to look at historic buildings that need preservation. And there's some options that building could provide for the town. And the feasibility study will also point out what those options are.
Okay, thank you. Article 30, please.
Transfer of CPC funding for legal fees. To see if the town will vote to transfer $3,718.98 to the town accountant to pay legal fees accrued during the purchase of property known as the Cook County Roads Project. Said sum to be taken from community preservation surcharges undesignated, or take any other action relative thereto.
And that is only a simple majority also. Could you give us more information on?
Well, during the purchase of the Cook County Road property, our legal counsel for the town did quite a bit of work, more than had been budgeted for, between the funds that came in the grant that we received and what was originally budgeted. There was a shortfall. We had only budgeted $5,000 for her legal fees, and apparently she needed to work more.
Thank you. And the last committee preservation, one more. Article 31.
Oh yeah, Bob's. Sorry about that.
Oh, no. Teamwork on
They're
bottom
not
of,
in the same place.
bottom of 18 in my Article 31.
31. Transfer of CPC funding for restoration of grave markers. To see if the town will vote to transfer $12,000 to the Historical Commission to match a Massachusetts Record Advisory Board preservation grant for the straightening and cleaning of Revolutionary War and Civil War veterans' grave markers in Center Cemetery. Said sum shall be taken from the community preservation surcharges, historical preservation, and are contingent upon receiving the aforementioned grant, or take any other action relative thereto.
Thank you. And that's a simple majority also. Could you give us information on the?
Well, the Historical Commission has applied for 2 years now and have received in those 2 years the first 2 grants from the Massachusetts Records Advisory Board Preservation Grant. And this is the 3rd and last year of the grant program that we would be eligible for. It would also complete the work on the Revolutionary War and Civil War graves. And we're certainly hoping we receive that and are able to complete the work.
And thank you. And before you go, Virginia, can you, we've got the time, can you explain the process tonight of the 3% of how the CP, Community Preservation Committee, I'm sorry I'm going to put you on the spot, certainly we'll do this Tuesday, but we have time and it's information and on how your budget is different from the town's budget.
The budget that we have comes from a 3% surcharge on property taxes paid on the taxes that are received from over the first $100,000 of property that a person has. So if their property is valued at $250,000, the 3% surcharge, and it's 3% surcharge on the taxes, is what is charged for community preservation. Those funds may be accrued over a period of time for larger projects. They are matched each year by a grant from the state. Originally, when we went into this, because we had gone in at the 3% and we were in early, we got a 100% matching grant. The last 2 or 3 years, it has been reduced, and this year was the lowest. It was still in the 70% range. From the state, excuse me, these funds may be spent on open space, especially around conservation of land and water resources, recreation, historical preservation, including buildings as well as records, gravestones, anything that's historical, saves the historical aspects of the town. And the one that is affordable housing. And let me just make a little pitch here. If anyone in town has any ideas on how we can help build our affordable housing stock. Now, this is affordable. It's not low income. It's affordable income. I would love to know, and so would the Housing Authority. But that's the process. Is people who have projects bring the projects to us, and we take projects all year round. Some towns and cities only take them once a year or 4 times a year, but we'll take them year round. They then, if we approve of them, the committee, it then has to go to a town meeting and be voted on at the town meeting.
Thank you. More informed public. Continuing along, Part 4, capital improvements. Article 32, new carpet for the Norris School Library. This eve, the town will vote to transfer $15,000 from the Operational Stabilization Fund to the Norris School capital budget to fund replacement of the carpeting in the library or take any other action relative thereto. And that requires a 2/3 majority for approval. Article 33, the Norris School boiler replacement. This eve, the town will vote to transfer $45,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund to the Norris School capital budget to fund repair of a boiler at the Norris School or take any other action relative thereto, 2/3 majority. Article 34, purchase of a trailer for the fire department. This eve, the town will vote to transfer $35,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund to the fire department building account for the purchase and installation of a modular trailer unit as sleeping quarters for fire personnel or take any other action relative thereto. And that requires a 2/3 majority for approval. Article 35, purchase of a lawnmower for the highway department. To see if the town will vote to transfer $62,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund to the highway department account for the purchase of a large lawnmower or take any other action relative thereto. That also requires a 2/3 majority. That's coming from stabilization. Article 36, we have 2 more left. Article 36, pump station permanent easement. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board, acting by and through the Water Commission, to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise, on such terms and conditions as the Select Board shall determine, a permanent easement containing 40,000 square feet, more or less, on a parcel of land located in Southampton and Easthampton, commonly known as 10 College Highway, being Assessor's Map 14, Lot 2 in Southampton, and Assessor's Map 164, Lot 11 in Easthampton, said easement as approximately shown on a sketch plan. Imagine there'll be one available for us to look at, as may be amended on file. It's on file with the town clerk for the purpose of siting, constructing, operating, and maintaining a water pump station and appurtenances related thereto, as well as access rights to said easement, said property to be acquired for water supply protection and water distribution purposes pursuant to General Laws Chapter 40, Subchapter 39, 41, and 15B, and further to authorize the Select Board to enter into all agreements and take all related actions necessary or appropriate to carry out said acquisition and other acts authorized herein upon such terms and conditions as the Select Board may deem appropriate, or take any other actions relative thereto. And that requires a 2/3 majority. And before I get to the last one motion which anybody can make on the floor is to table a motion. It has several definitions. One is to lay on the table and come back to it. But our definition of it is to kill it. So if somebody stands up and says, I vote to table this article, we then have a second. We have no debate. Instant voting. What cannot happen is somebody debating an article, any article, saying how they perhaps disapprove of it, they want, and then say, I vote or a motion to table. You've debated it. You can't debate it and vote to table. So if anybody wants to vote to table, and then it's 2/3 vote, and we've done this regularly, and if it fails, the motion to table, then we pick up the motion where we left off and we proceed. If it succeeds, then we go on to the next article. Part 6, bonded debt. Article 37, septic betterment. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer, borrow, or otherwise provide the sum of $200,000 for the purpose of financing the certain water pollution abatement facilities projects, including, without limitation, the repair, replacement, and or update of septic systems pursuant to agreements between the Board of Health and residential property owners, including, without limitation, all costs thereof as defined by Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the General Laws, as most recently amended by Statute 1998, Chapter 78, that to meet this appropriation, the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Select Board, is authorized to borrow the sum of $200,000 and issue bonds or notes, therefore, under Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Subchapter 127B and a half, and or Chapter 29C of the General Laws, as most recently amended by Statute 1998, Chapter 78, that project and financing costs shall be repaid by the property owners in accordance with those agreements. But such bonds or notes shall be general obligations of the town, that the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Select Board, is authorized to borrow all or a portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust, established pursuant to Chapter 29C, as most recently amended by Statute 1998, Chapter 78, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement and or security agreement with the trust, and otherwise to contract with the trust and Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, with respect to such loan and for any federal or state aid available for the project or for the financing thereof. And that The Board of Select Board, Board of Public Works, or other appropriate local body or official is authorized to enter into a project regulatory agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, to expend all funds available for the project and take any other action necessary to carry out the project or take any other action relative thereto. And that requires a 2/3 majority. And those are all the articles, and I see someone wanting to ask a question.
Tamara Lunas, 298 College Highway. Mr. Moderator, I would like you to explain on how a 2/3 vote works when the number of voters that come in at the beginning of the meeting is changed come the end of the meeting when half the people leave.
It's a good question, very good question, and it's brought up a lot on what's called the gavel line. And essentially, it's the amount of votes that we have, yea or nay. We don't take votes for people who abstain.
Okay.
So there are people who sit there and not vote at all. We don't count them. We count how many ayes, how many nays, and we go from there.
Okay, because I know in the paper a lot of times they'll report that there were 300 voters there.
Right.
But when you go and add the
Right.
totals, it doesn't come anywhere near
Right.
that.
Some people don't want their neighbors to see how they vote. Some people are distracted. Some people aren't sure. There's many reasons, and so they don't vote. So those aren't counted.
Okay, thank you very much. You
That's
said
a
that
very
was
good question.
Gavel line?
It's for moderators, I think only, and it's busy, some with no life, mostly lawyers, and it's near daily, and it's incredible, and it's an education in itself.
Right, thank you so much.
Cheers. Anybody else? Thank you for coming here. The buses are waiting to take you home. File out single file. We meet Tuesday. This is a lot to go through in one evening. If anyone can do it, I can do it, but we're not going to rush anybody. We're going to have ample debate on every single article, and if we need to go into a second night, we'll go into a second night, and we need to go into a third night, we'll need to go into a third night. But I will congratulate and thank everybody if we do it in one night. All set? Thank you. Safe home, everyone. See you Tuesday.